Uh, this is an important announcement today, so I'm also joined by Minister Amber Jade Sanderson, Minister for Manufacturing, and the Minister for Mines and Petroleum, David Michael. And this is a great example of how WA businesses are just getting on with Made in WA, making sure that WA businesses are part of the great, incredible supply chain that we have in our resources industry, utilising the strength in our resources industry to pivot into higher value chains, but also in diversified industries and adjacent industries. And so it's great to be here at Wallis Drilling today to really showcase this example of what it means when you have businesses like BHP supporting local contractors and small businesses to upskill and up-trade their businesses as well. So this is a great outcome and a great milestone for BHP, but it's also a great outcome and a great milestone for Wallis Drilling, which has built these 3 state-of-the-art drill rigs for BHP to be deployed in the Pilbara. These drills are a great example of what local businesses can do. We can be part of the manufacturing supply chain. We can bring manufacturing back to the heart of the Western Australian economy. And I'm really proud of the work that's going on here at Wallis Drilling as they back themselves, really integrate innovative and clever thinking into their work, and as you can see, can create great state-of-the-art drill rigs to support our iron ore industry. I'm advised that these particular drill rigs are next level when it comes to being safer, deeper and more productive when it comes to drilling and undertaking, utilising advanced technologies to improve exploration. I'm also advised that these drill rigs within about 5 years will be able to be electrified, which is all part of the decarbonisation of our mining industry, which is taking place in the northwest as we speak. And manufacturing success stories are the exact thing that we want to see more of in WA. And my government is continuing to back companies like Wallis Drilling through a range of programs to ensure that we can, as a community, continue to improve and uplift our manufacturing content here in WA. You know, our economy is the strongest in the nation. We want to keep it that way. And we need to take a Team WA approach to maintain that strength. And that means working closely with our state's businesses, both our big businesses and our small businesses, to diversify our economy and bring the Made in WA plan to life. BHP has already demonstrated its commitment towards engaging with local contractors and local manufacturers. They're undertaking a program at the moment where they are manufacturing iron ore rail cars in WA, and that's obviously another important opportunity for Western Australian industry. And its decision to work with Wallis Drilling in supporting jobs throughout the state, including in suburbs of the Perth, but also, of course, in the great northwest, the Pilbara, where you see our iron ore industry really just going stronger than ever. And can I take the opportunity to congratulate Tim and his team at BHP for another record year of iron ore exports in 2024-2025. It's great to be here to celebrate this milestone. I want to congratulate Wallis Drilling and congratulate BHP. And on that note, I'll hand you over to Tim to say a few words.
Thank you, Premier, and good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming out today. It's a really big day for us. But first of all, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we are today, but also on the lands in the Pilbara where, hopefully, very soon, these drill rigs will be working for us, which is excellent. I do want to have a special thanks to the Premier for all of the help and through this endeavour, but also the Ministers, Minister Sanderson and Minister Michael, but in particular the Wallis Drilling team. It is an outstanding drill rig that you guys have developed and have made available to us to run our operations better. This particular drill rig is designed and manufactured here in Western Australia. And not only that, the people that designed and built it were actually upskilled and developed here in WA as well. So all of the people that actually were a part of it were all trained here, which is excellent. We have 3 drill rigs coming in, and they are cutting-edge technology. They're safer, they'll go deeper, and they'll deliver a hell of a lot more data for us to ultimately get better understanding of how our ore bodies work, and then the information that comes into us, which ultimately makes us more productive. It's partnerships like this that ultimately make a better WA, and a strong WA is great for jobs, it's great for their skills and other businesses, and it actually continues to drive WA as the powerhouse it is today and the world leader it is today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Premier, and good morning to all. Well, this is an exciting day for Wallis. Back in 2017, we launched our Wallis 300 RC drill, which became the benchmark in the iron ore industry. Project forward 10 years on, delighted to be launching the 400 RC, a $20 million investment for Wallis Drilling, the drills and the support equipment. We're pleased to be associated with BHP. We know they're making significant long-term investments in the Pilbara. For us at Wallis Drilling, it made sense that we should develop a drill for the long-term success of the Pilbara region, and that's what we set out to do 10 years ago, and this is the culmination of that journey here today. We are very proud that we're able to do high-value add manufacture and support the leading iron ore industry in Western Australia. We clearly endorse the Made in WA, as Wallis Drilling is successful in adopting that approach here, and we want to be part of that long-term journey. We see the best years of the iron ore industry remain ahead of it rather than behind us. And in that note, you would have seen today we're making an investment of $50 million in our new manufacturing facility so that we can advance the development of these drills for the iron ore industry and have for these drills to be the centre of excellence for the iron ore industry around the world. I'd like to thank you very much to the Wallis team in particular, who have been involved in the development of these drills. As the Premier has said and Tim has said, all of the skills here and the training has been developed through the universities in Western Australia and our own training and education here at Wallis. We can demonstrate that we can build world-class leading equipment, and as part of that process, as the Premier has also pointed out, we're very much on a decarbonisation journey as well with the industry. So an exciting day for Wallis. Thank you for coming out, and we look forward for these drills going to BHP and being very, very successful and continuing the iron ore industry in Western Australia as being the preeminent iron ore jurisdiction in the world. Thank you.
Can I just ask, are these drills exploratory or are they for holes for blasting?
Exploratory. Thank you.
Sorry,
yes.
just going.
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask, you say that the best days are still ahead of us for iron ore. I think everyone else, but people almost think that those strong prices at some point will have to come off the boil. What gives you that confidence that our best days are still ahead of us?
Oh, I think in terms of the investment that the industry is making, and if you look over the long-term horizon for iron ore, whilst the volumes may be at the top, we don't see them coming off. And in terms of demand and replacement of mines, there needs to be significant replacement of mines. So we need to be involved in that. So there will be continual activity, even to maintain current levels in the industry.
Thanks very much, Matt. Tim?
BHP has significant copper interests. How worried are you about Donald Trump's tariff proclamation this morning?
Yeah, look, that particular topic, I'm not across all the detail of because it changes a number of times, but from a BHP perspective, we're not exposed to the US a hell of a lot, so there's not a lot in it. So as we understand that more, we'll try to figure out what it means for us overall.
Is the uncertainty as damaging as the actual figures of the tariffs? I mean, you mentioned that it's changing all the time, 50% on cosmetics, 200% on pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Is that damaging?
I think uncertainty is difficult for business. So uncertainty makes it difficult. So on any topic, when you're in an uncertain world, it makes it more difficult to invest. So that is true. But as we navigate that, we'll digest it and try and understand where we go with that.
How do you navigate it? I mean, do you have any you know, direct links with the US to pick up the phone and lobby the White House, or are you relying on the Australian government, and does the Australian government need to do more on industry's behalf?
The way we navigate it, and it's the same as we navigate all of these issues, is we actually be the best operator we can be, and we continue to be at the front of the pack, and in terms of iron ore industry, but also in other industries that we're in, and we keep driving our performance overall.
Is there a temptation to, you know, shift any operations to the US to, you know, protect yourselves?
Well, it's where the resources are. So we go for the best resources we can, obviously, and then we develop those accordingly. So, and they're all over the world. So, yeah.
Is the major concern for BHP still the knock-on effect with, you know, tariffs on China? Geraldine is headed to China next week, I believe.
Correct.
I'd imagine it'll be high on the agenda, sort of how to manage the tariff situation.
Yeah, so we have a representative, Geraldine, going to China next week. But in terms of what it means, it's obviously we've got to navigate it together, and as a country, but also as a business, we've got to navigate that.
Any questions on this announcement today, Tim?
Eh?
Any questions on today's announcement?
Well, just on that theme of the best years are ahead of us. What's the outcome though for China's, you know, big exploratory investment in Africa? Do you have issues with that?
No. So if I think about, similar to what was just said from Mark, was that if you think about the iron ore industry, there's a lot of tonnes that go through the industry in general, and it's a big market. So mines come on and off, and they have to at all times because of the size of the market that plays through there. So as you open up new jurisdictions, they'll obviously add tonnes, and it will impact the market. There's no doubt about that. But the impact of that will be, you know, what it's going to be. But you will find that tonnes will come off as just as much as they come on. So we've got to make sure we're ready for that.
And sorry, Jordan, I do just have one other issue, Tim. Just your reaction to the Fair Work Commission's verdict this week with regard to same job, same pay. How concerned is BHP and the industry broadly about that?
Yeah, and look, just to be clear, it's the finding is that it's for 3 coal mines in Queensland. So we have a lot of work to go through. We haven't got those orders yet, so we'll work through those. And then once we understand what they mean, then we'll understand what we're going to do about it. Yep.
Does it set a precedent, potentially?
And like I said, we still have to understand what it is because we haven't got them yet. But when we get them, we'll understand what it means.
Jim Chalmers did say yesterday that he's been speaking with you privately and publicly with BHP about same job, same pay. Have you made any headway in those talks?
Like I said, we're just working through it. Once we get the orders, we'll understand what we need to do with it.
Could there be a flow-on effect to WA iron ore businesses?
Look, it could be, but it's one of the, like I said, we have to understand it first, and once we get it, we'll actually work through it.
What could be the financial impact if there are impacts here in WA?
Yep. We don't know yet because we haven't got the orders yet. So once we get the orders, we'll work through those.
There's no other questions for Tim on today's announcement.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Mark. Good morning. Any other issues?
Premier, is Brian Burke right? Are you turning Perth into Fountain Lakes to target the Bogan vote?
Oh, look, it was one of the more entertaining pieces of media that we saw this morning, but I can assure you there's no secret polling. Any polling that a party does is their own information anyway, so from that point of view, any polling that is done is secret, but there was no polling to understand what the Bogans of Western Australia are thinking. We simply, in the Labor Party, believe that doing things which are popular isn't a good thing to do at the time of an election. We actually happen to believe that sports plays an important role in the lives of people of Western Australia, and that's why we've got our policies that we have. The issues around UFC are well known. In fact, they go back to 2017, so that's not new. We made it very clear that we wanted to continue to make sure that sports and entertainment was an important part of Western Australian life.
Why would you need to poll? You live in Bogan territory.
Well, exactly. I think that's the very point I'm making, Jeff. We don't poll to understand what Bogans are thinking. We do things which we believe are popular and in the interests of the state. The economic returns that are going to come from, not only the integration and the uplift we see in motorsports events, but also, of course, in terms of the Perth Bears. I don't know whose phone this is, but I suspect it's Connor's. You know, they're great for the economy. They're great for living in Perth, and we're very proud of those policies. Can I also say we're also proud of the fact that in the election campaign we announced funding to do a business case for a new art gallery. We're currently upgrading the Perth Cultural Centre and upgrades to the Perth Concert Hall. So it's about doing a range of things which make Western Australia a great place to live.
Where does bare knuckle boxing fit into this?
I've got no idea.
An economic return. You said that you're doing things because they're popular, but bare knuckle boxing is neither popular nor seems to have a good economic return. Why was that cleared by the government?
Well, nor was it an election commitment. It was something which was
before the election.
No, the regulations in relation to how the Combat Sports Commission operates were changed prior to the election, but it wasn't an election commitment. It's something which the Combat Sports Commission considered separate from any sort of government perspective. So I'm not quite sure why bare knuckle boxing got a Guernsey as part of that piece.
Were you disappointed that you weren't named?
I might. Let me go to Connor and then back to you.
I was going to say, were you disappointed that you weren't up to the Bogan Whisperer?
No, but I'll just put on the record that the street circuit proposal was an initiative that was undertaken when I was the Minister for Tourism, and people have been criticising me for wanting to have an NRL team in WA. We're very proud of both policies and the outcomes that will come with them.
So are you proud to be a Bogan, and are you a Kel or more of a Brett?
Look, I'm Roger, right? I'm just who I am. I believe in great policies that back Western Australia, and I happen to think motorsports are a great way that we can continue to create a great place to live. That's why we backed our motorsports package that was we announced during the election campaign. Part of that will see speedways and go-kart tracks upgraded right around the state. It also led to upgrades at Motorplex, including an off-road vehicle area at the Motorplex complex. And of course, we now have the outdoor entertainment and sports precinct at Burswood as proposed during the election campaign. Great policies which continue to make Western Australia a great place to live because they contribute to the economy and they contribute to our lifestyle. And of course, the Perth Bears. We wanted to have an NRL team in WA because we believe that Western Australians love their sport and they love beating the East Coast teams. The Perth Bears are another opportunity to do just that.
Brian Burke's obviously got this from
hang on, you guys are just getting a little excited.
Brian Burke's obviously got this from somewhere though, someone within your government speaking to him despite previous iterations that he's not allowed to speak to anyone in government. What's your message to whoever is speaking to him? He hasn't plucked this from nowhere.
No, well look, Brian Burke's a smart guy. You don't need to have conversations with people in the party to be able to draw the conclusions that were created in the media this morning. I mean, that doesn't mean someone's speaking to Brian Burke. It just means he continues to have a pretty sharp mind.
Is there a ban on speaking to Brian Burke?
Said yesterday that Mr Beasley needs to check her facts regarding whether she'll lose her position, and then this morning posted on her Instagram, all the cool girls get fired. Are you worried she won't cooperate with the government and the three commissioners that are going to be put in charge of Netherlands Council?
Oh no, look, under the Local Government Act, the state government has a responsibility to ensure that we have stable and functional local government right across Western Australia. The resignation of the group of councillors meant that council can no longer actually form a quorum, and so clearly the opportunity had to be taken to step in and to establish the councillors, those commissioners under the Local Government Act.
Why is the contemplation that she could re-nominate and possibly get re-elected solves nothing, does it, if you're just going to put commissioners in to have her return in October?
Well, and we obviously have to undertake the processes according to the Act. Now, the people of the City of Nedlands may entertain the idea of re-electing a particular councillor or mayoral candidate. Our responsibility is to ensure that local governments provide stable and functional services to their local communities. And quite frankly, the fact that so many councillors have resigned from that council suggests that it's dysfunctional, and it's certainly letting the people of Nedlands down.
Do we have too many local governments in WA? 137, is that excessive?
I think we do have too many local governments in WA, but the boundaries and the system that we have is what it is.
Will you be looking to reduce the number of local councils in WA?
No, that's not one of my government's policies.
Well, that
Should
didn't
it
work
be
very well
revisited,
for
though?
Barnett, did it?
Well-
Is that why you're gun shy?
Well, I think the problem for the Barnett government was more the execution of their policy rather than the policy itself.
So why don't you have a crack at it? Should mergers be revisited?
No, that's not one of our policies. Our policies are focused on jobs and the economy, health and housing, making sure that we as a state government play our role to continue to ensure that Western Australia remains the strongest economy in the country. By being the strongest economy in the country, we're also the fastest growing population in country, which means we need to continue to focus on issues such as housing and health and to ensure people have the services they need regardless of where they live. Place to live. Yes.
You did make a big deal as a government. We didn't see anything come from that.
Well, we did. We passed local government reform in our first term, and as I said, Minister Carey undertook significant reform. And, of course, that reform process is continuing under Minister Beasley.
Just to clarify Connor's question from before,
Resources and the capacity to run our own party.
are you sure your ministers don't engage with Brian Burke?
All my ministers understand the requirement or the expectation that they will not.
Should Murray Watt explain the conditions?
Doesn't go for your journalists, I see.
Not elected officials.
You don't have to be an elected official to get criticised by your paper about engaging with Brian Burke.
Should Murray Watt
Yep.
explain the conditions he's wanting to impose on the North West Shelf before UNESCO meets?
Oh, look, obviously we're very pleased that Murray Watt is taking a delegation to meet with UNESCO with regards to the listing of the rock art on the Burrup Peninsula on the World Heritage List. We think that's an important initiative. It's one that we support, and Minister Swinburne is also accompanying the Murujuga Aboriginal Corporation as part of that delegation.
Remember the next one for you? Just bear with me.
Sure.
There's a lease on a mobile phone tower at the grandstand in Blackmay Park. It's been terminated by the Big Park Council, which people are saying was done without enough notice to get replacement infrastructure in place, and there's worries that it could leave thousands of Vodafone customers without coverage. Should the council have accepted the lease extension request which they previously refused?
Well, look, we need local governments, and we need all departments that have land management as part of their regime to work with mobile phone companies to ensure that we do have adequate coverage. I think the expectation now is that everyone at all levels of government will cooperate with the telecommunications industry, because mobile phone networks are a fundamental and integral part of our economic and social infrastructure.
Forgive me if I say this one wrong, but young girl Simi, I believe,
Yeah.
coronial inquest into her death. One, can you confirm if that's happening? Two, your reaction to it?
Well, look, when this news broke with regards to the loss of life for a patient that was in the care of Perth Children's Hospital, Simeon Brooking, came to light, I said that I would welcome a coronial inquest if that's what the Coroner's Court decided. My understanding is that the Coroner's Court has now decided that they will undertake an inquest, and I obviously welcome that.
Why is Crown Perth able to continue operating without any penalties when a Royal Commission found that it facilitated money laundering?
Oh, well, look, the findings in relation to the Royal Commission around money laundering associated with our gambling industry were largely focused on events on the East Coast, but obviously it did also involve Crown, because Crown operates not only the Perth casino, but casinos on the East Coast as well. We undertook an extensive inquiry and process over the last couple of years to closely examine the way Crown operates, continue to work with Crown to ensure that we've got greater transparency and that it is operating in a better manner. That inquiry process has now completed, and the Minister for Racing and Gaming has concluded that they can continue with their licence to operate.
Will your government, if needed, compulsorily acquire land from Crown for the Burswood racetrack?
Well, it's not required to be acquired, and the Burswood Peninsula operates under the Act, which not only governs the Burswood Casino, as it was known, under the original iteration of that Act, and the Burswood Park itself.
Can I get your reaction to Donald Trump's latest tariffs this morning, particularly targeting copper and pharmaceuticals? How concerned are you that WA industry could be impacted?
Well, again, Western Australia's economy is not directly exposed to the US economy when it comes to exports, so I don't think there'll be a significant impact in relation to that. But we are obviously big suppliers to countries that do export to the US. So the current issues with regards to global threats to global trade as a result of the Trump administration's tariff announcements are obviously concerning for Western Australians, as they are for every member of the community. I think these things have a negative impact on global trade, and global trade produces global prosperity. So obviously it's a concern. My understanding is that their objection to the Australian pharmaceutical industry is that it's subject to the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme. The Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme is responsible for providing affordable drugs to Australians everywhere, and is a key part of our health system. So we think that should stand. It's a great system. It's one that makes sure that Australians are more healthy and have access to quality drugs, and the US government should keep their hands off it.
And what assurance can you provide the WA mining industry in the wake of the Queensland Same Job, Same Pay decision? And are you engaging in any talks with the Commonwealth?
Well, look, we're awaiting the outcome of the orders associated with that particular court action. It's a court action that was brought against a coal miner in Queensland. So we really need to wait some time before we can have any clarity as to any applicability to the Western Australian context.
But the unions are actively using that legislation to lobby for same job, same pay in WA.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
definitely got ramifications for WA.
Yeah, and in Western Australia, we continue to ask our industry and their unions to work together for great outcomes for the mutual benefit of the industry and the economy more generally. That's what you see in Western Australia. But in respect of this particular case, it's a court case that was brought on the East Coast with regards to some Queensland mines, so it'll be a little while before we understand any ramifications from that.
Very quickly, a spate of fatal crashes across the state over the past week. What's been done, and is this evidence that the road safety roundtable was a failure?
Well, look, I will just say in relation to the death we've seen overnight with a gentleman in his mid-30s on an e-scooter in Bibra Lake is very sad, and obviously our thoughts go out to the family and everyone involved. I want to thank first responders also, who have had to have experienced a pretty grisly scene last night. It's another reminder that we need to look after each other on the roads, and I welcome the parliamentary inquiry into our e-scooter safety regime, regulations and opportunities, but also we continue to look at what we can do in the long term to reduce deaths on our roads.
From Exeter to Barcelona.
One more.
The Eastern states seem uncomfortable with ECU compared to the one-year teaching diploma. Are you confident teachers are being trained properly?
Yes. I've always been a big supporter of the one-year teaching diploma for postgraduates. That's a good opportunity to make sure that we can get the science teachers, the maths teachers, and people with life experience into our classrooms. And so I think it's an important initiative.
So can we just ask how Japan was?
Japan was great.
How was the talks?
Oh, well, that's what you mean. Oh, no. Look, obviously, yeah, it was an important opportunity to engage with Japanese government and industry to talk about Western Australia's role as a reliable investment and trade partner. We continue to engage with them around the role that LNG plays as part of the clean energy transition that countries right around the world are going through, but also that Japan is particularly engaged in. In February this year, they released their 7th energy plan, which is a strategy to take Japan on that energy transition. And what they made clear to us is that while they'll have a lower draw on LNG into the future, it will be a key part of their clean energy transition. They also talked about the importance of ammonia and integrating ammonia into their coal-fired power stations to further reduce or displace coal as part of their overall energy system. Japan imports 90% of its energy needs, and so as a result of that, they are particularly focused on the importance of Western Australia continuing to be a reliable trade partner. Thanks very much, everyone. It is your phone. I knew it was your phone.
I think you actually gave this to me.
There'll be stuff coming at some point, so yeah.